Good morning, folks. We'll get started here in just a few minutes. You're right, there's no volume because it's just noisy in here. Give us just one more minute and I will turn this to a recording. Okay. All right. Good morning, folks. I'm Melissa Schwartz. This is our Monday morning mastermind. We are upstairs and we hope our technology will work okay with this. I'm online and in person. This morning, we have a guest from ARMLS. I'm sorry. Natalie Smith is here from ARMLS. If you are able to have your computer where you can look at your ARMLS at the same time, those here have some computers open. At home, you'll be able to watch this and follow along, hopefully. We have Facebook going. We are not necessarily going to be watching the chat online, but we will try later on to pull those up and see if there are any potential questions. At this point, I'm going to pass this over to Natalie and she'll jump into the aligned showings. Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Melissa. So my name is Natalie. I am a training and content specialist at ARMLS. So I do a lot of the trainings like we're doing today. You'll see some of the blog posts on the website that I'll write, as well as some of the email communication that gets sent out. So I really hope that last week you all received that email that said, Aligned Showings is live, it's ready, it's good to go. We did have a couple of hiccups initially when we were originally planning on releasing it. Just testing a few things. It wasn't up to the standard that we were hoping it was for you guys. We worked out those things and now say, hey, it's ready, it's good to go, and we're super excited about it. So before I just jump right into the product and give you a demo, I want to get some of those pressing questions out of the way. So one of them being, is this kind of intending on replacing showing time? Yes, I mean, eventually it is going to do so. Do we have an exact timeline or a date for that? Not at the moment. We didn't want to have you guys switch over overnight and just say, hey, you have to change your entire workflow from your day. So we want to give you time to adapt, learn it, ask some questions, and give us some feedback. That's another thing, is the reason why we kind of introduced this product and brought it to light is that it's not really a secret as far as who owns showing time at the moment. And they're a competing brokerage within our MLS. That didn't really sit well with us. We're kind of giving unfair advantage. We're giving another brokerage advantage of a product to use for all of our agents. Again, that didn't really sit right with us. So we wanted to build and introduce Aligned Showings. It's something that we created in-house. We own it. And I love, because we do have a little bit more flexibility over changing some things. So if you come to us and say, hey, we really love this, or hey, we're not as big of a fan of this, we want to hear about that. We do have that flexibility to change things and implement things in the system. So give us all that you have. Yes, it is going to replace showing time down the line. Again, we really don't have any kind of an exact date for that. We totally realize that it's not going to be the most fun in this temporary time balancing these two different showing services. We have found some different ways to combat that and kind of navigate to work around and organize things a little bit better for you. But I think it's a really great product. If I look at showing time, it looks like, I don't know, it was built like in 2002. It was never updated since then. Aligned Showings, it looks a little bit nicer. It's easier on the eyes and it's very user-friendly in my opinion. Every time you get a new product and you have to learn something new, it's this initial, oh my gosh, what is in front of my eyeballs? But once you look at it and digest it, and you're like, oh, like that's right there. That's exactly where I need it to be. This information is right here. It's very clean in that manner. So with questions and all of that, ask them as you go along. If they pop into your head, just shout them out. I'm not very picky. If you want to, just raise your hand, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to follow along, that's totally up to you. It's really up to you and your learning style. I know that some people really like to do that hands-on. I typically recommend to just follow along on my screen, take some notes and ask questions if you have any. I know sometimes it can be a little bit cumbersome to follow along with me, especially because I'm using some weird test listings and things that don't exactly exist in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into Flex MLS.
Make sure you share your screen.
Oh, that's a good call. Thank you. Let me, hope that's not what I want. Share the screen. Maybe.
No.
Oh, there we go. Maybe.
It's just on the bottom right. Just click the bottom right share.
Oh gosh, I thought it was a double click there.
Nope.
Ah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Then you should be able to flip over to your other.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So I want to start today just by jumping right into Flex MLS. You know, we're all used to kind of starting in here, looking at listings, viewing properties. So I just want to point out that you can access aligned showings in all the same places you can access showing time. So if we visit the main menu under daily functions, right next to showing time, there's aligned showings. If I'm looking at a particular listing, maybe I'm looking through some properties that my client was interested in. If a listing agent did choose to use aligned showings for their listing, I will have that option right here in the corner. I know that depending on your screen size, you know, you might already see it there. You know, if your screen is kind of smaller. So it's all the same places. I will also mention it has an app. I really like the mobile app. I think it's very clean, it's friendly. You can get those notifications. I think that's the big kicker, is that nobody's going to be opening aligned showings on a daily basis. So just download the app. That way you get those notifications. You don't have to worry about opening this product every day. So I want to start out just by requesting a one-off single showing. Now there is the option in here to do routes, which is like the equivalent of a showing cart where you can do a tour of multiple properties. I'm just going to do a one-off situation for now. So let's say that this is the property I want to show. Again, one thing that's going to be a little different for this temporary time of balancing these two systems is determining the listing agent's showing preferences. So, you know, this is kind of similar to what we're used to. Oh, is the listing agent using showing time, or do they just want me to text or call them? The one difference is that now, instead of showing time or calling or texting, emailing, you can use aligned showings. Every listing agent can choose their individual preferences. So not every listing is going to be the same. Listing agents can only choose one or the other, so they can't use both at the same time. So this particular listing agent said, okay, well, I want you to request through aligned showings. All right, so I'm going to go through to the more section and do aligned showings. And it's very much like showing time. It brings you over to the service. And then, you know, in showing time, you choose your contact information, your time, date, etc. Very similar. So maybe my client says, oh, you know, this Thursday is when I'm going to be free at like 4 o'clock. I don't know. So I'm going to choose my date on this section. As far as the time goes, this page is kind of broken up into two different columns or two different panels. So your first column that's in this main section here is where I can choose the time of this showing. So I can drag it to my area. If I say, oh, it's at 4 o'clock, I can click right at that time. The duration is over to the right. It always defaults for 30 minutes. Maybe it's just 15. Who knows? You'll also see within this same column or panel that I have this little guy in the background here. This is kind of just a disclaimer to myself saying, hey, you already committed to another showing at that time. Can't be in two places at once. So just a disclaimer to you. Can you overlap it? Yes. I'll show you kind of how that could come into play beneficially for organizational purposes, but you could if you needed to. Now, the other panel or column on the right-hand side, you'll see it has the property address, which in this case, it's a weird test listing. But this will show any restrictions to this particular listing. It looks like, you know, as I kind of scroll up and down, this listing doesn't have any restrictions, but maybe it had something like another showing at a time. Maybe it was just restricted because they were getting some maintenance done to the property and just said nothing at this time. If there are restrictions, you'll see it on that right-hand side to know that, oh, you know, can't schedule at that time. So let's go to the next page. This is an optional message. Do you have to enter anything in here? No, if it slows you down, that's fine. Maybe in my situation, I say something like, I don't know, a service animal will be present. Do I have to include this? Is it right or wrong? No, I'm just being courteous. Maybe I just want to be transparent with the listing agent.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If the seller is getting a notification of the time, will the seller be able to get that note as well?
Great question. Yes, they will be able to, and I'll show you how you can set that up.
So you have to set it up. It's not automatic by you saying the seller is the one doing the note. I know we're not at that step.
Right.
As soon as you-
Exactly. So once you're setting up your listing, you can kind of choose like the email or text message, whatever that preference is.
There was a question in the chat about when you're talking about getting the app on your phone.
Yes.
Notifications. Are the notifications just regarding showing, or are there other things that we're gonna get?
It's really just regarding showings or your listing appointment. So whether, you know, you're on the buyer side or the listing side, it's really just going to be regarding any showing appointments.
They're asking, can you repeat the question? So they
Oh, yes, absolutely. The question was about the mobile app and getting those notifications. Can you repeat it again? I'm sorry.
Just what kind of notification?
Oh, yeah, the kind of notifications that you'll receive if you do get the app. It's just related to your showings that are being requested, being approved, canceled, changed. No kind of, I don't know, promos, crazy things like that, that I know that you guys are tired of. It's really just those notifications about your showings. Yeah.
So you're showing us as a buyer to make an appointment. Let's say I'm doing a second show. That's always been a great tool.
Mhm.
You know, not
Yeah.
compared to showing time, to be able to say you're doing a second showing or future showings. Like, let's say I'm a buyer and I have a pending contract. And I say to the agent, hey, can I go in to view that property, go through showing time, and then you can put in that you're doing a walkthrough or you're doing inspection.
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually on this.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah. So the question was like if like I know in showing time, there's the option for, hey, this is my showing, this is an inspection, this is a walkthrough, etc. Within aligned showings, there currently isn't that option, but I know that developers are already working on it to the point where it's kind of back in our testing site on this little page here. So I know that very soon it'll be, you know, pushed out to you guys where when you're choosing the date, you can choose, oh, it's a walkthrough, first showing, second showing, whatever it may be.
Could we add that into that right-hand side, just to let them know, because will the sellers do that? You said you put the comment on the right-hand side.
Oh, within like this area?
Right.
So I'm sorry, if you can repeat your question.
I was just wondering if we could maybe put that in there, like if it was a second showing or it was.
Sure. Yeah. So if you did have like a, you know, if you wanted to disclose that it was a second showing inspection for this time being, absolutely put it in this messages area in here. Like I said, my kind of example of the service animal is, you know, crazy, but you can really put in whatever it might be. Maybe there is something that you had discussed with this agent before, you know, at some conference, and now you're saying, hey, I'm just following up and whatever, maybe. Absolutely put in whatever kind of comments you have in here. So after my message, I'm going to go ahead and send this away. And this brings me to my messages area. This is like your main communication hub, organization tool. This is your heart of aligned showings. Before I get too far, I just want to show you that if you happen to already be in here, like for instance, within the app, you can request a showing right from Aligned Showings. So if I have an MLS number, an address, I have these crazy test listings out in Yuma, so I'm going to use one of those guys. So if I find a listing that I want to show, and I think I'm going to use that same one here, just takes you through those same steps. You know, I'm going to choose my date, my time, I don't know, maybe we're doing it at 11 o'clock. It's going to be for a solid 20 minutes is what we're planning. Next, and then we'll send that away. Yeah.
So when you go to make the appointment, I noticed there's no lead time allowed, like you can make an appointment within 2 minutes.
Mhm.
So a line is not allowing lead time yet.
That's that's,
However, I put in the remarks, please allow an hour. So when that picture comes up, when you go to make an appointment, the remarks don't show up.
so the remarks, the directions, all of that, that is something that we're still working on. As far as lead time, that's another something that we're playing around with in our back end system. So it's kind of there, but we're still waiting to push it out to you guys.
Long as it's something that's been presented and it's being.
Oh, totally. Yeah, there's a couple of things I'll touch on that we've gotten some feedback on in the last like week or so, that we know that you guys really want to see. So while we're in the messages area here, like I said, this is your heart of aligned showings. So this is a very great product for not just communication, but collaboration. So it's very good if you have a team member, if you have a co-lister, if there's a transaction coordinator in your office, if you have someone in your office that handles rentals and you want to bring them into play. So you'll see that once I sent this request, it said, hey, I want to go see the property this date and this time. In the upper right, these are all the people that are involved with this showing. So I see myself, Natalie, and then I can see the listing team. So I can see Chelsea, the listing agent, Wendy is the co-lister. Maybe I requested this showing and God, something came up in my life and I can't make it. And hey, person from my office, can you bring my client on this showing and just take them this one time? Sure, absolutely. Let's go ahead and bring them in. I can type in anybody as long as they're from my office. They can be an admin, they can be another agent, they can be your broker. Really doesn't matter. As long as they have an MLS account, I can have them involved with this showing. When I add them in, it sends like a message or a little notification to everybody that says, hey, Dan has been added by Natalie to the conversation. So now everybody in this thread or that's involved is notified. Nobody's left out of the loop that, hey, I've added Dan in here. Within this kind of message thread, I think it works very much like a text message thread where maybe I want to send an email out or a message out. So maybe that's that situation of I decide to say, hey, Chelsea and Wendy, I'm not going to be able to make it. My partner, Dan, is going to take my client to the showing in my place, whatever it may be. Let's go ahead and send that out. Now, everybody in this thread or that's involved is notified. Yeah, nobody's left out of the loop. Nobody is left out of information. So I can send a message to everybody. I can also send a team note. This is kind of like a message, but it's only visible to people in your team. So maybe I decide to say, hey, Dan, make sure to bring water for our client, Kelly, when you bring them on our showing. Maybe I decide to say, remember treats for Fido, the service dog, whatever kind of message I want to send just for my team, that's the only people that can see it. So you kind of see that that's distinguished yellow here, just to say, okay, that's only for them. As far as the members go, you can add as many people as you want. It can't, if you have just a co-lister, that's great. If you want to add 3 people, if you want to add 5 people involved, that's up to you. The listing agent can do the same on their side. On this right-hand panel, this just has details about the showing that always stick on that right-hand side, just so it doesn't get lost in that thread. So you have your showing status. It's still requested. Nothing has been approved yet. Maybe the listing agent does approve it, in which case it will send a little message in here. Hey, everything's been approved. Here's some additional instructions, etc. If I need to cancel it, I can. If I need to edit the date and time, that's another option.
You get the phone call similar to Showtime?
There's no phone call. It's just email, text, or the push notification.
Text. I think it's.
Yeah, none of that weird automatic, none of that lady's phone call. Yeah, question.
Your message that you sent out.
Yes.
The agent saying, I'm gonna add Dan.
Yes.
Does that stay there for a long time?
Yeah, that message that I sent out that I'm saying, hey, I'm adding Dan, it stays there forever.
So in case the agent says, you have the wrong person, here's my.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I said it's great for collaboration. You can kind of bring in and add whoever, remove whoever that you need to, yeah.
So the people that you add, they have to have that app open on their phone, or will they get the notification by email, like if they're identified as a team member?
Great question. So how would the, like Dan in this situation, how would they get this notification? So it's really up to how they set up their aligned showings account. You know, if they have the app, they would get the push notification. If in their settings, they said, hey, I want to get an email, or it's really up to them and how they choose. Yeah, but I'll show you how you can set up your preferences.
Okay.
Yeah, great question.
And would the seller see this line of communication?
So the seller does not see every little bit and piece of communication. The seller really just sees the main primary details. So they can see date and time, they can see like if it's approved or not. It's very basic details. Yeah, great question. Yeah, can't see the entire thread, just the main details of it. Oh yeah, question.
Can you add the seller in more to them to approve your listing?
Yeah, that's a great question. However, I'll point out that in this situation, I'm in here as the showing agent. Yeah, but I'll totally show you where you can do it as the listing agent. So I'll show you that if you ever needed to edit the date and time, very easy to do so. I don't know, maybe it's now Saturday at 10 in the morning and they call and they say, oh my gosh, Fido was being a drama queen getting out of the house. And it's just not going to happen. We got to push it back like an hour or so. Crazy situations happen. So let's just push this back that, 12 o'clock, whatever the scenario is, send that away.
And that's only before you got a confirmation already, right?
It could be before or after. So and you'll see here, like Chelsea, she said, oh, sounds great. It's been approved. And then I changed it. It's still requested because, hey, that previous time was approved, but that doesn't mean this new time is okay. Yeah. So also on the right-hand side, you have, contact information for the other agents, the MLS number. There's also this little area for team instructions. It's pretty similar to the team note, except it always stays on that right-hand side. So I know sometimes when you're communicating in this message thread, sometimes important details can get lost. So if you want something to always show on that right-hand side so that Dan is not going to forget about it, you can just have it stick over there. I haven't thought of any great scenarios for it yet, but if you have great examples, I will.
CBS code.
Ooh, that would more so be in another area, which I'll definitely show you. There's a lot of areas in here where you can like leave personal notes or messages. Yeah, but this would really just be like, hey, I as a showing agent to my partner, I just want you to always know about this. If you got something maybe a week down the line, send me an email. I'm super curious. Okay, as far as the messages area go and send this one little appointment as a showing agent. Are there any questions before I move on to the listing agent side of things?
The only thing that just having the agent's name without their company, I'm always so used to Natalie Smith.
Oh,
The company name is, I don't know, I just always feel like when it pops up as a notification, it just has a name and number. And not-
okay, yeah, that's a good point.
You want to know where they're from.
Yeah, I see that it's like in for a step here, but yeah, I mean,
We can't hear anything.
We can't hear. Hello.
I think we got disconnected from everybody.
She's
Leave and go back on.
You have to unmute.
Yeah, I got kicked off also.
We can't hear.
Well, I see Melissa's square. Oh, there she is.
You need to unmute. Oh,
I know, it's painful. I'll text Melissa.
Yeah, sorry about that. So as far as if you do have listings and you want to switch over to align showings or what to do about showing time for your listings, I'm actually going to go over into that portion right into this next section.
Okay, we lost you for a good portion, and that was the question about, and maybe you're gonna do this.
can you also,
Yeah, multiple showings is called routes in align showings. It's the equivalent of showing cart. And I'll get into that in the section after. So yeah, you guys are totally on top of it, asking the right questions.
can you,
So
can you
I'm gonna go
please
ahead and
repeat
jump back into Flex MLS now. And oh, and I don't know how to get rid of this.
Can we ask a question? Can you hear us?
More and pull down, just.
Can you hear us?
Oh.
Right. There you go.
Gosh, I'm just not familiar with Zoom here. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into Flex MLS here. And I now want to kind of switch over as far as the listing agent things go. So as of last Tuesday, when we said, hey, it's launched, it's good to go, any of your listings that you currently had on the market didn't change. So if you said, hey, I like showing time, it would say showing time. If you said, hey, just send me a text or email, it's going to say, okay, just send me a text or email. Any new listings as of last Tuesday going forward are going to default to align showings. So with this new service is very heavily dependent on the adoption of listing agents. Not every property is going to be in aligned showings. So we definitely want listing agents to switch over, especially because we totally know and we have found that it's not the most fun having, some appointments and showing time and some in aligned showings. So this balancing act is just a pain, but showing time is going to be going away eventually. So, hey, might as well get you on board. We're having more and more listings going into aligned showings, less and less going into showing time because of those new defaults in the system. So if you do happen to have any listings on the market that, as of Tuesday, or active, maybe they've been on for a couple of weeks, a couple of months. If you wanted to change it over to align showings, I'll show you how. So there's a couple of different ways on how I can get to edit my listing. It's a really personal preference on how you want to get there. I like to go to this little drop down and edit my listing. So once I get here, I want to go into the listing information and then go to the dreaded details tab, because it's that massive page that has all these checkboxes with a whole bunch of options that is just a nightmare to do when you're adding a listing. So I need to find this new field for all my showing instructions. I found that the easiest way to get there is just go all the way to the bottom and then start to scroll up. And I know it's like this red text field. It's a required field for all of my showing information. And here we go. So I have all of my usual showing instructions as far as, permission is required. Yes, no. But now there's this new field for your showing service. So if you said, hey, I like showing time, it would stay in showing time. If you said, hey, send me a text or an email or call me, it's just going to say no showing service used. I like to keep it by hand, by calendar, wherever it is. But hey, we're here for align showings. So I'm going to switch it to align. Like I said, any new listings going forward do default to align showings. Maybe you hate using these online services and you are a diehard paper calendar. You just like that email getting sent to you. That's okay. You can go into your general preferences and change that as a default going forward. But for everyone as of last week, it just set to align showings. So I'm going to save my change for that listing. Now, much like showing time, once you save your listing in the MLS, it can take 15 minutes for it to sync up to showing time. It's a little bit faster. It's about 3 to 5 minutes for align showing. So Thankfully, once you add it into MLS, you can shoot right over into Aligned Showings to get those preferences set up. So I'm going to go right into my scheduled marketing activities here and click on Aligned Showings. Brings me into Aligned Showings to set up all of my different preferences and settings for my listing. This looks very messy right now, but I'll show you how all of this comes into play. There's 5 main sections here. So they're in bold. You have like showing instructions for showing agent, time and date restrictions, etc. Maybe you know exactly what you want to jump to. Your seller calls and they say, oh gosh, they've flooded. I don't know. I made a mistake and the bathtub overflowed and we got to have it off for 2 days or something. Okay, well, if you want to go right to the time and date restrictions, you can. However, I'm going to take you into edit details. We're going to go through each section one by one. So this first area is like your main overall details for how you want showings to be conducted. This first option, allow property to be shown. This, you can't change it. You can click and click and click and click and nothing's going to happen. This is basically asking, hey, do you want your property to be shown through Aligned Showings? Well, in your listing in MLS, that you said, yeah, I want to use Aligned Showings. If you didn't and you wanted to swap this to no, you got to start in the root of your listing in MLS. Everything will trickle down from there. You can choose settings as far as allowing overlapping appointments. Maybe you want people in there one at a time exclusively. Maybe you don't mind people going in overlapping. A maximum appointment length. Like I said, it does default to 30 minutes. Maybe you want to cap it at 20. Maybe you want to push it out to a full 45. Maybe you don't want to put a cap on it at all. Much like showing time, there's 2 different ways instead of 3 on how you can have these requests handled. One is going to be require approval, you know, occupied property, maybe dogs need to get put up. We need a couple hours to get everything set up. Otherwise, you can do an instant approval, much like it says. They send the request over and it's instantly approved. They say, hey, you're good to go, and it's approved. I'm going to use this scenario of the require approval. And I can first send an instant message to the agent. This doesn't mean anything is confirmed or approved. I just put in here like, hey, thanks for your interest. My typical response time is like 2 hours. Is that a right or wrong or good or bad thing to put in there? It's up to you on what you want to put in there, if anything. It's totally optional. Yeah, do you have a question?
You can put in showing 123 Main Street, so they know who you are, right? Or you make it more specific.
Rephrase your question.
Okay, so right now this is, and someone's gonna get an email from Joe Smith that says, thank you for your interest in showing.
Mhm.
They're like, what listing, what happened? It is?
Yeah, so they should already have that
I
information.
didn't know if that was a text that went out saying, got your request, I'm working on it.
It kind of, so basically what would happen is the showing agent would send their request that says, you know, hey, I want to see your property at this date and this time. And then it would just send a reply right back that said, hey, thanks for your interest. This is my response. Yeah. So it doesn't really send any detail. It's kind of just like that text message thread.
Is
Yeah.
that a good place to put in, you make sure you allowed an hour, because where your additional instructions are, I know we're not there, I think those additional instructions do not show up.
Yeah. So as far as like that lead time, like I said, it's not quite here yet, but it's a slider right here. It will be a slider where you can disable, like, you know, I need a 1 hour lead time, a 5 hour lead time.
But right now, what you're saying is I can put it in the text message to give them that notification right away.
That would be a little hard because maybe they already requested something for 5 minutes from now. So if you said, hey, you know, my response is an hour from now, that might be a little hard. So yeah, as far as this weird kind of, you know, time where we're getting all this feedback and making changes, there are going to be some new things that are being implemented in there. But for the time, I think that would just go in the listing, you know, your remarks in the listing to say, hey, I need a 1 hour lead time, you know, don't request on the same day, whatever it may be. But that is a highly suggested.
Well, that's why I see your additional instructions, and that information does not appear anywhere on, like, we're on our phones, we're not at our desk. making
Right.
appointments. It doesn't come up. So when you get to that, I want to know where that shows up.
So this actually doesn't show until.
Can
Yeah. So when does this question show, or when does this message, I guess, show up? It's just right after you send that request. So it's nothing that you'll see beforehand to say, oh, I want to schedule this date and this time. It's, oh, I've already sent it to say I want to go, and now I get it. Yeah.
Like request received and showing that, got it, I got it, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have all this like terminology that I don't have on that other side of things. So lockbox access, you can definitely include that in there. Maybe you don't have one. Maybe you want to say there's a super box on there. Maybe you say there's a Home Depot combo lockbox. Showing arrangement, this is kind of just a disclaimer that says, maybe I'm going to be there with you. Maybe the seller is going to be breathing over your neck while you're walking through the property. Every situation is a little bit different. You can also request a callback. So maybe the back door is janky and you got to pull it weird and it doesn't slam right. So you just want them to call, let them know before they actually do visit your property and something goes wrong. The last kind of message that you can send out are additional instructions that are sent after everything's been approved. So this is a great place to put in your CBS code, if you do have one that's used. I just put in here, help yourself to cold water. Please set this to the AC. Please lock the doors. Make sure everything is secured. Again, everything in this area is held from anybody's eyes until you say, yes, it's approved. You're good to go. Here's your information. So those are all of the main kind of overall details for how your showings are conducted. The next area is your office involvement. This is another area where you can add a team member. So there's a couple different areas on where you can add a team member, one of them being in the messages, where I said, hey, Dan, I can't make it. Can you take my client to this showing? Sure. That was just a one-off request. However, I can add a teammate in here so that they're involved with all showing requests going forward for this property. Maybe it's my co-lister. Maybe it's like the rental person in my office. Maybe it's the transaction coordinator. But if I want someone to be involved with any requests for this property going forward, I can add them in. Anyone who is added as a team member can view the showing details. They can modify them. They can approve, decline requests. They can communicate with all the members within that thread. It does ask you, though, if you want to notify them of these requests. Yes, basically just says, oh, I want to bug you and let you know that, hey, you got something to look at. If you don't notify them, well, it's not going to bug them, but they can still go in at any time at their leisure and view any of those details.
There's a question. She said, I didn't see who approved the showing.
Ooh, so as far as that previous, so I didn't see who approved the showing. So as far as that previous showing request that we did on, the buyer side of things, I started the request that said, hey, I wanted to see the property. I added someone in, made a couple messages here. And then Chelsea, which looks like is the listing agent, they approved it and said, okay, the listing agent is going to accompany. There's an electronic lockbox on there. But then I changed the time. So it's still requested. That new time has not been approved, but that listing side, it could have been Chelsea, it could have been Wendy. Anybody on that listing team could approve it. So back within the My Listings area, I'm going to edit that listing and go down to my office involvement. So I can add a team member here. There are the team instructions. Again, these will show always on that right-hand side. This is just for listing agent to listing agent. Again, I can't think of any great examples. I just said, hey, you rock, you're awesome, you're doing fantastic, keep it up. If you find a good example, send me an email. Again, I'm super curious. So the next section is your seller tenant involvement. I already have a seller in here. If you don't, you can come right to the add seller tenant area, start typing in their name. So if you need to add someone new, I don't know, maybe their name is Larry. You'll see I already have a Larry within my contacts. I can pick them here, otherwise invite a new person. Just need their first name, last name, phone number, and email address. That's all. Once they're added in there, I have 3 different ways on how I can communicate with them. So I can first have them approve showing requests. Now, whatever kind of phone number, email I put in there, that's where I can choose, okay, well, I want them to get an email or a text message to approve or decline. Maybe I don't want to give them that full permission, but I still want them to be involved and aware. In that case, I can just notify them. That way they don't have the control of approving or decline, but they still know someone's coming in their property. And then I can also do none. This doesn't send any kind of communication out. It really just saves their information in here for your organizational purposes. Yes.
When you're putting in the seller occupant, if you have to put in an email, it doesn't allow you just to put in a phone number. So you're forced to put both in. What if my seller doesn't have an email and they're fine with texts?
So what if my seller doesn't have an email? Let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and just put in, I don't know, some random phone number here, add person. Oh, it is required.
So as a preference, I would recommend.
Your own or?
No, I would recommend that you remove that as being required
Okay,
because
yeah.
the system is often used. I've primarily used text only and not used email unless I was sending the updates. Because the only nice thing for a seller is if
Okay,
you have
yeah.
an email, you can add your responses. If people reply, you can send them that. But if you're not doing that, then the text is
Well,
the
I think
option.
the option
Sure.
should be there. and
Right.
to Some like older folks are at their computer more than they are on their phone.
Mhm.
So I just think it should be an option, one or the other, obviously.
Okay, yeah, that's a great suggestion or input to have just one or the other required, email or phone number.
Does the system do any calling at all if someone doesn't text message?
No, there's no calling for, any notifications.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's all written, it's all, paper copied. And I think that's also a request from our data integrity department. They like their paper trail.
Yeah.
So yeah, they like that they see, that notification. Oh, you brought someone in. I love seeing that. So yeah, that was kind of their input on that side. So the next area, okay, time and date restrictions. This looks very messy, but I'm going to remove all these and show you just how fluid and flexible the time and date restrictions are. In my opinion, I think that it's a little bit nicer, a little bit more fluid than Showing Time does it. So I'm going to throw out a few examples here. Maybe my seller call, oh my gosh, I flooded the bathtub and I need some repair. Who knows? Something happened today. It's got to be off today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Okay, today, tomorrow, Wednesday. Is it an all-day restriction? Yep. Okay, let's add that time and date. Maybe it's a scenario of, this seller works from home and they, every now and again, they have clients that meet at their house and they just can't have anybody at the property at that time. Okay, well, what's your schedule looking like? Oh, I have meetings on the 12th. I'm having clients come over on the 17th and on the 25th. Okay, what time are your meetings happening? It's always from 11 to 3 o'clock. Okay, well, let's do 11 to 3 and put it off for that time. So those are specific dates. I also love that if I'm doing reoccurring, so I'll give you 2 different scenarios here. Maybe it's the scenario of sellers at home, they have a baby. Baby takes a nap from 12 to 2 every day, can't wake the baby. So is it an all day? No, let's just do it from, 12 to 2 o'clock. Perfect. This next example is my favorite one that Align Showings does, that I just think is a little bit more superior to Showing Time. The scenario of, hey, I only want people to show my property from, 10 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. I don't want anybody coming in before or after that time. Sure, absolutely. Again, is this all day? No. So let's start the restriction from midnight until, 9 o'clock, whatever time that they're okay with people starting showings. We'll have a nice gap in the middle of the day and then start another restriction at, 6:30, 7 o'clock, whatever time you want to end it until the very end of the day. And add that in. Like I said, it looks kind of messy because it's literally adding every single date and time, but it's very fluid and flexible. I think it's a little bit nicer on this side. So the last area is your feedback survey. So yes, you can ask the showing agents for their feedback on the property. There is this default survey. So if you don't want to come up with your own questions, that's totally fine. There's this one that you can view that says, okay, did your client like the property? Did they feel it was priced appropriately? Are they considering making an offer? If you have your own burning questions, that's great. So you can say, no, I don't want to use this default survey. I can pick my own. If I don't have one, I can create a new survey. So this is also very flexible where I can do multiple choice. Maybe I decide to pose this as like a true or false. Maybe I want to add a third option and say yes, no, maybe. Maybe I give 5 options and say, rate the property 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can add 1 question, you can add 3 questions, you can add 10 questions, however many that you need to add. You can also do like an open text or a short answer, have them type whatever kind of response they had for your question. So that feedback area, I like, that's also very fluid and flexible. So those are all of your main sections for setting up your listing. You have all of your main preferences, adding anybody in your office, a seller, restrictions, and then your survey. I do want to show you that once someone has requested a showing on your property, and I see a couple of alerts here, maybe someone's requested somebody on mine. Alerts is kind of the way, is the notification panel of Align showings. Again, are you typically going to be in Align showings on a day-to-day basis? No. So just get that app, set up your text message emails, which I'll show you in a moment. But hey, if you already happen to be in here, you see that red message. Okay, well, I see that someone's requested a showing on my property. So Wendy wanted to see my property. So on the, oh, and this is kind of weird because she's involved. So she requested something on her own property. But now you'll see that because I'm on the listing agent side of things, I can see the seller tenant information. I can also approve or decline. So if I click approve, this will pull up all of these same instructions that we had previously. And I'll show you that these aren't the instructions I put in there, and I'll show you it's for a reason. But I have all the instructions that were initially put on the listing setup to say, oh, call me for details. This is the lockbox information, CVS code, etc. If I say decline, it does prompt me for those options to say, oh, it was just not available. You can put an optional message, maybe just a one-time thing. Maybe you say, oh, can you please push it back whatever time, or plenty of different scenarios. You can decline with a custom message. I do want to show you that once I approve this here, let's go ahead and approve and send that away. So you'll see that much like when Chelsea approved it, it does send a new message to everybody that gets sent out. The showing status is now approved and everything's good to go. Now you may have noticed that why were those instructions? Patio door is weird, pull hard to lock. Well, I thought mine was something about the AC and the cold water and what's up with that? So you'll also notice that if I go into the My Listings area, and this is the same on mobile, so you'll notice that right now I'm looking at my listings. Natalie Smith, these are my listings. But I can actually choose someone else's listings. So it looks like I have the option to look at Chelsea or Wendy's listings, and that's because they added me as a team member on their listing. So when they were doing their listing setup, they said, oh, well, I want Natalie to be involved so that she can be included with all of these requests going forward. However, you'll see that when I go to Wendy's listings, I have 2 properties, and if I click on this one, nothing happens. That's because they have 2 properties that are on the market that are active, but they only added me as a team member to this one. They said, I only want you to be involved with this property, but not this property. So with this one, I still can go in and I can edit all of those same details. I can add time day restrictions, add new sellers, whatever it may be. And then as you saw in the messages area, even though it's not my listing, that's Wendy's listing, but I was able to approve it and send any details. I can message anybody in this thread so that the showing agents are involved. Yeah, very good with collaboration in that sense. Before I get into the routes area, going into multiple showing appointments, any questions on the listing agent side of things? Yeah.
Well, there's a question here saying, I tried to use Align showings and it completely changed the route and times, and she tried to go back to use showing time and it didn't work. Is that, once you commit to a line showing, can you then switch back?
Yeah, you can go back and forth at any point.
But they don't interact.
But keep in mind, yeah, they're totally separate platforms. So keep in mind that maybe if you were using showing time and someone said, hey, I want to view your property at this date and this time, and then you switch it, you can't see any of that stuff that
So
was.
you'd have to go back into the listing and change.
Yeah.
Change her.
Exactly. Yeah, as far as if you want to switch back and forth of, hey, I have a listing and it's using showing time. If I want to use aligned showings, yeah, I can switch over. And if I don't like it and I want to switch back, yeah, you can go ahead and switch back and forth at any time. It's very fluid. Like I said, it can take a few minutes to fully save in Flex MLS and say, okay, well, now you want to use showing time. Let me actually show you over there. So like I said, that 15-minute period, that 3 to 5 minute period, it can take a little bit for it to save and then, you know, say, oh, okay, you don't want to use this one, you want to use this one, and it can take a little bit. Yeah, great.
But what you said though, is if you've already had somebody set appointments in a line and you switch it to showing time, you then can't view that.
Right.
So once you've got appointments in there, be very careful.
Exactly. Otherwise you would have, yeah, if you like we're using showing time, you had, yeah. So as far as like appointments, if you were using, if you had an appointment in aligned showings, are you gonna, know what's in showing time now? No. So these platforms are completely separate. They don't talk to each other in any kind of manner. So if you've had a listing on the market for a month, you've been using showing time happily, that's fine with you. Maybe you got 4 upcoming listings on your property. That's great. However, if you decide to change to aligned showings, it's going to be like a fresh slate in there. So if someone says, hey, I want to view your property at this date and this time, they're not going to be able to see if someone already requested a time there. So definitely important to note, if you do have existing listings, yeah, any new ones going forward, that's a great, fresh, clean slate. I know that a lot of agents are kind of dipping their toes, testing the water, saying, okay, my current ones, I'll stay showing time and I'll test aligned showings for this new one. It's really up to you how you want to kind of navigate things. Some listing agents say, okay, I want to use 2 of my listings with showing time, 2 with aligned showings. However, in my opinion, I just get very cumbersome and awful to balance. But you can, it's up to you if that's, how your work style is. Yeah.
So going back to lead time, do you have a target date as to when that functionality is going to be available?
No, but we're kind of pushing things out as fast as we can. So we might even see it, today, we might see it tomorrow. They're really kind of, these new things that they have already on the back burner. Yeah, they want to push them out as soon as possible. Yes.
So I have a question, where you have additional instructions, where that notification came through?
Yes.
Where is that written in the listing? Because when I go into Align and put in instructions, it does not show up. Does it pull from MLS instructions?
No, so this was, and again, this was Wendy's listing. So I'm going to go over to my listings and go to Wendy. And I only have this one that I can edit. I can see that by the little pencil icon here. So that was within the main instructions here. So the first one, the showing instructions for the showing agent. So I see that she has, require approval. I'm going to hold everything for review. She doesn't have an instant message that gets sent out, but she did put in this additional area for after it's approved. Yeah, and that just pulls it like every time I click approve, it pulls that up. I can change it if I want to, but it will pull that up every time.
When a showing agent goes before they schedule the appointment, the picture comes up of the listing. And then there's a whole bunch of instructions. Why wouldn't that instruction be in there? Is it because you put CVS code in there and you don't want that?
Exactly. Yeah, this is just held for, I don't want you to know until it's confirmed. Yeah.
The other question I had was, because I'm on a team and I have my Russell Shaw, I work for Russell Shaw, so he doesn't want any notifications, so we uncheck all those boxes. However, he does want any feedback emails, so his TC can read it instead of going. Showing time does that now. Regardless, you're getting feedback whether you uncheck the box. on having notifications, but that's important to know when the feedback comes. So you're saying that's not something you can move on?
Right, so as far as, if you are in a team and you have someone that's involved, but you don't want them involved with everything, just those feedback notifications, at the moment, there's not really a way to customize that. That's a great suggestion, though, one I have not heard yet, so I can definitely add that to the list. But yeah, that's not something that's kind of customizable with, oh, I want them to receive this and only.
Showing time does that, which is strange.
Yeah.
Right? That those emails do show up.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, at the moment, it's, yeah, like I said, everything's are kind of basic.
Okay, I'm gonna ask that we hold off on questions to make sure we get to this routing, because I
Sure,
really want to make sure we cover that. It's about 5 minutes till 10. For those of you in here, if you can stick around, she's gonna continue. She'll continue to answer questions, but you know, understanding that we technically had this scheduled from 9 to 10, I just wanted to make you aware. I'm sorry, 10 to 11, sorry. Yeah, it's 5 and 11, never mind. You know what I'm talking about, but go ahead.
Great, thank you. Okay, so with the routes area, like I said, this is like the equivalent of showing cart. You can schedule multiple appointments on a tour. So I happen to have this listing collection already pulled up for a client of mine that has, you know, a couple of properties they want to see. Oh, I cleared my schedule on Wednesday all day. Let's go. Like I said, we totally know it's a pain. It's not going to be the most fun balancing these two, because as a buyer's agent, well, if I have these, 6 properties that my client wants to go on a tour of, well, this listing agent, they say, oh, well, I want you to request it through aligned showings. Maybe this listing agent says, oh, well, I want you to, oh, this one said showing time just yesterday. But every listing is going to be different. So you have to know, okay, well, am I requesting it through here or through here? Again, it's temporary. It's just this little period while, showing time is still going away. But one thing that we recommend is that if you are going on a tour, the best way that we've kind of found to combat things as a workaround to organize it for yourself to make it easier is that for any properties that you find are using showing time, go ahead and go to that property, request it through there, choose your date, time. If it gets declined, if something approved, well, let's bring it over into aligned showings and start to order. So I'm going to go ahead and select all the check boxes of the listings that are using aligned showings. So I just click the little check box, and now in the upper right, I can go to the 3 dots, aligned showings. Just like the showing cart, this will first ask me to choose a name. Everything needs a name for these routes. So I don't know, maybe I'll just name it Kelly's showings for October. That's fine. I do see that with the current date set as today, I get this little error that says it has a full day restriction for this property, can't be included. That's fine. This isn't the date that my client wanted anyway. They said, I don't know, next Wednesday, whatever. Start time. Sure, let's say it's 11 o'clock. This is just a review. Maybe one did have a restriction on the day that they requested, and so you need to remove it for that day and explain to them, oh, well, it's not going to be available the day that you wanted. The next area, oh, and these can't be found on the map because they're weird test listings. I'll remove them in a moment. But this is where you can organize your route. It does show you travel time. I know that these are very close together way out in Yuma, but I'll show you a couple areas when I add stops to show you that travel time is included. On this area, I really recommend you just focus on the duration of your showings. Maybe this first one is a larger property. We're planning on being in there for before full 45, who knows? Maybe this next property is only 20 minutes. I can see for this property, it does have a restriction from 12 to 2, so it's not going to be available that time, but just choose your duration. Again, I know somebody had a question of like overlapping and things like that. That's absolutely an option. I know that some people, if they're going on a tour, they like to kind of make a bigger appointment time for themselves. That way, if they get out of the first one early and then show up to the next one early, they're still within their approved time. So if you want to overlap things and that's how you manage it, totally, that's great.
Is this giving the time, travel time?
It will give the travel time. Yeah, like I said, it's kind of close to each other, but I'll kind of show you I'll add another stop where it's more visible. I'm just, like I said, on this page, I really just recommend the duration. Say 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. This is still your pre-planning phase. So I'm just going to create and schedule the route. And I'll show you that, yes, everything does show on a map, except for this weird test listing that can't be found. So all of these are out in, Yuma here. I can see my A, B, C, D stop. So this first one, like I said, the duration, 45-minute stop. And then I have, and then the next one is right next door. And then a 14-minute drive to the next one where we're spending 30 minutes. However, what about that showing time appointment? I don't want to forget about that guy. So let's come into add a stop. Yes, I can add a new appointment to request it through aligned showings, but I want to do non-MLS. I really like this because yes, I can enter the address of, and I'll enter the MLS address in Tempe. That way you can really see travel time here. 204-minute travel time to the next property. On this page, again, really focus on your duration when you're choosing the time. The reason I say this, and I want to add just another stop just to show you. Another cool thing about adding a stop. This is like my favorite thing. I hate that showing time doesn't do this, but maybe you're stopping for breakfast. Maybe you're going to Starbucks. Maybe you're going to lunch afterwards. If I type in Starbucks, it's going to find me Starbucks on my route already. Yeah, don't have to know the address. If I'm going in Awatuki showings, it's not going to show me a Starbucks in Peoria. So I can type in Starbucks. I can type in Applebee's. I can type in their property address if I'm going to pick them up and we're going to travel together, whatever the scenario is. Again, whenever you're choosing the time, I recommend your duration. Starbucks, maybe we're spending a full 60 minutes there. We're going to do some pre-planning and have a, croissant, whatever, before we take off for the day. We're going to add the stop. Now, the reason why I say duration on those first pages is because fastest route. Much like showing time where you have the smart route, there's the fastest route. Maybe we want to start at Starbucks. Maybe we're going to start at their property address, whatever it is. Let's choose the starting place and then calculate the route. Disclaimer, this may not be your favorite way, your personal route, the way that you want to go and wherever you want to stop last, but it technically is the fastest route. If you still want to modify it, you can. Like for instance, I see that this has an issue. Even though this is the fastest route at this time, it's not available. Oops, and if I hover over it correctly, it's restricted. So if I ever need to manually reorder, absolutely I can. I can still rearrange and say, oh, that's not available. Maybe we'll push it towards the end of the day, whatever it is. My travel times are crazy again because these are going out from Yuma to Tempe and then back to Yuma. But you'll see all the travel time, the distance is sorted on the right-hand side, 60 minutes, 8 minutes, 45, 51. The total is at the top, so client and I are going to really be getting to know each other well on this trip. Keep in mind, this is still pre-planning. Nothing's been sent yet. So I still need to click request appointments in the upper right. And that's going to send a message to all these individual listing agents to say, hey, everything is approved, everything is good, or everything is requested and sent. I can see the status, it's still requested. If I want to share this with a client, I can. I have the option to share via PDF, which is okay. But you can do the clipboard, which you can paste it into an email. It has the time, date, the address. It has the Google Map area. I also want to point out that the app, oh my gosh, my favorite thing about I usually have a screenshot on here, but the app, when you first open it, it's like a calendar view of your upcoming appointments. So ideally, if you're on track for the day, first one right there, and there's a navigate button. Takes you right into your map. So you don't have to worry about, okay, well, I need 30 minutes before the showing to get this all into Google Maps and plan it and organize it the way that I want to and just open up your phone, get the app and say navigate. So with that, all those routes have been sent. I just want to go over this last area with you before I kind of open up for any questions. The support tab. You know, we never want to leave you hanging. You have the support number here, but also the feedback area. I've had some really good feedback from you guys. I really like it. You know, we're not agents. We don't practice the way that you do. So we like to hear those weird little nuances and niche things that we're just not aware of. So if you say, hey, I really like this thing, or I don't really like this thing, let us know. Like, we really want to hear about those things. This is created by us. It's owned by us. We have that flexibility and freedom to make these changes. So let us know. So yeah, with that, I mean, I do have a couple more things to go, but I want to open it up for any questions if you do have any. Yeah, absolutely.
On routes, if someone declines your appointment, can you then go back in and move it or change it?
Yeah.
Do it
Great
on the same
question.
day? Like if they say that time's not available, but morning's open or.
Yeah. So if I go into like my route details here, if I ever need to like cancel just one because it was declined, I can cancel it. If I ever need to change the time, I can. So maybe I reorder and say, oh, you know, this last, gosh, these times are crazy. 9 p.m. Yeah, that's nuts. But maybe I say, oh, let's change the time to this. And it's might not be available. It's an orange there for some weird. Maybe let's change something over here. But basically, if you change anything, you'll have to re-request. It'll give this pop-up that says, hey, you know, you're still in the pre. No, it's just the one that you change.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah. So if you do change anything, everybody's notified. All those requests are resent that says, hey, I changed the time. Can you approve it for this new time? And yeah, question.
On Friday, I went in, I never used align showings before, and I wanted to show a property and it had just come up and it only had align showings. So I went in to set up the showing, that brought up the end user agreement. It didn't ask me to say okay or not okay or anything. I just X'd out of it, but then I couldn't do anything.
There is totally like a blue, it's like a agree or a something button.
I tried again just now. And
It's crazy.
There's no button, so I have the.
I would maybe call support, maybe see if there's like some, oh yeah, so maybe, so when you logged in, you got like an end user agreement that wouldn't let you like do anything, like wouldn't let you click.
But I didn't know if anybody else ever had that problem, or maybe I had to set something up to begin with.
Is it on the app?
No, not on the app, actually.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple times at end user. Yeah, it's, you have to accept it the very first time that you log into it. But if it's giving you issues, I'd probably call support because that's not normal. Yeah. Question.
So one of our agents here is saying they're trying to switch over from a line back to showing time because they're having a problem and she can't do it. It won't, the system won't let her.
Okay, just a question. Is it the listing she's trying to switch?
Yes,
Okay, so she has to back all the way. It
I
has-
said, go into your, try to edit
Well,
your listing.
Well, here's the thing. Ask her how many screens she has open of ARMLS. Because folks, if you have multiple ARMLS, it may be hung up on that. You've got to close them all down. And then go to try and change that, because I have more than once had 4 or 5 ARMLS screens open. So remember, you can't make that change if you got something else hanging out there.
Yeah, great call. But yeah, if you did want to change, flip back and forth, change from showing time to align showings, whatever it may be, it's in this details tab of your listing. It's this huge, massive, crazy page. And if I go to the scroll bar on the right-hand side, I know it's somewhere between like the middle to bottom mark. It's like 3/4 of the way down. Gosh, if I can find it. Here we go. Yeah, so there is where you can switch it back and forth. Just keep in mind that if you do change it, it can take like 15 minutes for it to actually show up in that new place. Yeah.
Going back to looking at your aligns with all your listings, I noticed you don't have feedback. There's no feedback in there. You have to go into my listing, go into the listing. And what if someone is managing all your feedback, you have your TC, and she wants to get all your feedback in one, click there?
Yeah, so there's not That's a great question as far as where is feedback? So anytime someone leaves feedback on your property, it's in your messages. So again, messages is like, I know in showing time on, you have like a my showings on my listing, a messages area. That's kind of all wrapped into this one messages area. So if someone did leave feedback, it would just be like another message.
So you gotta find it. and
Yeah,
then
it would just be another message, but that's a
I
great
would say
suggestion.
Try to put it over there, because then if you have this, a TC person or an admin, just somebody who's licensed. with
Right,
this,
right.
You kind of manage that and then give it to the seller rather than trying to find it.
Yeah, that's a great
You have
suggestion.
to all want feedback, you have to call them.
Right, yeah.
So Showtime has, this thing where if you were to look to see like tomorrow, see what's available. You see what times are blocked out, you see what times are available. It's pretty easy. And then you kind of choose send the request. Is there anything in the works to have something similar so that it's real easy to see what, there's 5 showings for this house. Sometimes I like to know how many showings there are going to be. I saw the times. It was not very easy to kind of look through there through this one.
Yes,
Is there anything similar in the works?
They're actually, it's already available. The listings that I chose didn't have great examples. So the question is like, want to see a listing if it has upcoming showings or what's going on with that listing. I don't know. Let me go to one of my weird test listings here. So yeah, like I said, some of my listings, my examples weren't very active and didn't have a lot on them. But I think this guy's pretty busy. So you'll see that if I go to schedule like a one-time showing request, I hope I get something on here. Open, yep, like she just mentioned, I'm gonna delete some of these old aligned showing tabs because I've gone crazy. So I don't know, let's choose a date. So it's when you get to the time area. It looks like, yeah, nothing for the, so usually where it would show is on this right-hand panel. You would see like a little grayed out area, kind of like that, but it's grayed out on the right that says existing showing, or it just says unavailable. But they're like gray blocks that will show.
So similar, you can see what's blocked out. You can
Yes.
see how many showings there actually are for that day.
Yeah, it just looks like this doesn't really have any restrictions or other showings, but it does show. Yeah.
Okay. My question. Thank you.
But you can't look at the week ahead, right? So when you're going into that date, you want to look at showing time.
That's one of my, I know that's one of my suggestions. I wish that on this page, it showed a little bit more as far as like, oh, on the 4th, it's unavailable or whatever it may be. Yeah, that was one of my suggestions that oh, there we go. So this one just says unavailable. This is my scenario of the baby sleeping. So that's why it says unavailable, but otherwise you would see like existing showing and it would be like a 30-minute block or whatever. Yeah, so you would see that.
Okay, good.
The reason we're showing the week ahead, sometimes you want to see what's best for you when you're on the phone with your client, right? And you're like, oh, they have Thursday open, rather than clicking into that.
Right, or coming in here and saying, oh, you wanted that day at this, oh, that's unavailable. What about this next? Yeah, I totally agree with that. Totally agree.
So on the routing, when you were setting up the routing on there,
Yeah.
so it sounded like you wanted us to start with the time of showings, how long you wanted each of the showings. The only thing is that normally when I'm setting up for a route, I want to see where the houses are on a map so that I know which way I'm routing myself. Otherwise I have to do that in Flex first, then jump over. And the thing I used to like about showing time is it would tell me, looking on that map immediately, what the travel time between them is. And if I moved them around, it would show that shift. So I knew that there was 36 minutes here, 12 minutes here, 5 minutes here. So then I could adjust where I put them on that map.
Yeah, like you'll see oh gosh, and let me see. So this is a crazy route because it starts in Yuma. But you'll see like there's the 6-minute travel. It doesn't show on the map as far as 6 minutes here, that minute's there. But that, yeah, like the fastest route, that's why I kind of have had that disclaimer of,
Right, but in order to get this set up, you asked us to start with how long showing each property.
right.
Right, but so normally if I'm doing that overlapping you're talking about, if I know I'm at
Oh,
point A,
okay.
then I'm gonna go and it's gonna take me 10 minutes to get there. I'm giving that 10-minute travel time. And
Hmm.
so I'm meeting my client at Starbucks at 11 o'clock. And I know it's a 10-minute start time or travel time, then my first stop is gonna be 11:15 or
Right.
11:10, right? And if I want a 30-minute, fine, then that's 11:40. My next travel time is 15 minutes.
Mhm.
You're telling me I just have to randomly say 30 minutes on all of these.
Oh, this is so messy. Let me go to a different one here.
But that's it, but I think on this new one, from what you're saying, it automatically counts.
It does automatically calculate. Yeah, you'll see
But is
here.
it shifting my schedules for that?
It looks like it.
Yeah, so you'll see like, starting at this time, 51 minutes is this is my first appointment is gonna be for 20 minutes. I have a 71-minute travel until my next appointment, if I want to overlap them, like I
Okay,
can.
all right, that was not visible from what I could.
Yeah, it was super messy on that last page, but yeah, like I said, I like to focus on the duration as far as this page because I really like the fastest route. I want to make it easy on myself and fastest, but then at that point, if I want to kind of overlap these and say, okay, well, now that it's the fastest, let me start to push that up and push this up. Absolutely, you can. Yeah.
Well, the only issue I have with asking a computer for the fastest is you're only asking for a starting point. You're not asking for an ending point. And the challenge with that is if I'm trying to actually do a circle because we're dropping a car,
Exactly.
or that we're meeting up with somebody 3/4 away, the system isn't going to know that.
Yeah.
That's my only objection to that. And I understand there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with the system doing that, but you just don't know the other element because you're just going from here and doing a fastest route that
Exactly.
way.
It does.
There
It's
could
very
be a difference.
literal where it says the fastest, but you might want to have a favorite last stopping point. And that's why I said if you manually need to rearrange it, you can, but fastest route is very literal in
Right,
its sense.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, but there are other elements there and the
Totally,
computer
totally.
isn't gonna be able to, unless they can say, okay, we want to end here, then give me the fastest
Mhm.
route.
Yeah, but you guys have had the best suggestions I think I've had in the last week. So like I said, if you have any feedback, send it to us. Like we have some things in the works, like I said, that we've kind of coming up, but there's some things that you've brought up that I had never thought about and have not heard as a suggestion yet. So we really like to hear those things. things that great suggestions I just never would have thought of. So send it away, please.
Just a reminder, folks, look, when we had showing time first roll out, I remember the objections to that. And oh my gosh, this doesn't work. And it took about 6 to 9 months for them to get the things tweaked on that. So please, when you send your suggestions, remember their suggestions and remember to go back and look at them. They're not going to happen overnight. But I think the beauty of this is our platform, right? This is not another company that is running this. This is ours. We own it. We've created it, which means we're going to have to maintain it, but it is ours, right? And so they're going to work to try and fix it for what we're looking for as members of this MLS. And so let's use it to the best of our abilities and get it perfected so we can help with that. And again, feedback is really important right now. Try to be as descriptive as possible so they understand what you're asking about and recommending, because again, they don't use it. They're programmers, right? So if you can try to explain the why with that, it might help them to know how to fix their end of technology to make it more useful for us. Don't expect to change overnight, but bear with it and let's keep working on it. And I love that you can add those stops. So if you've got something showing time, you can at least add that stop or vice versa. So you can add a stop and showing time if you didn't know that, but it doesn't find the Starbucks nearby, but it will add it if you add the address. Any other questions here?
On that route, does it automatically take you back to where you started from?
No, so that's kind of where, exactly.
Okay.
Although maybe if you add in the first stop as your last, maybe it would Who knows? I mean, nothing, yeah,
So
you can try it
adding
out.
this as second as a.
Yeah, give it a shot. Maybe, yeah, that's a great suggestion. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, send us, you pay enough for these products, so we want to make sure that you know how to use them and that they're working the way that you want them to. So please send that away. Yeah, if you didn't sign in, I think,
It's over here.
oh, okay, great,
Yeah, I
great.
think everybody signed in.
Perfect.
Yeah, except.
I'm also gonna leave my cards here just in case. For those online, I'm gonna leave my email address in the chat just in case. Please reach out. I always say email is better just in case of situations like this, but please call me, email me at any point. I feel like I don't receive enough questions from you all. So if you're ever stuck, please reach out.
So Natalie, what you said was a good idea that I thought was
As far as these, I got that one. Yeah, I'm kind of keeping track of these ones, but if you're playing around, yeah, please do,
And
please
this
do.
was recorded, so we can send that to you if you want the recording for that.
Awesome.
So reminder, everybody, that this was recorded. We do have one of our affiliates here, so we'll hear from her for just a quick second, but it will be on our YouTube channel. How many of you have subscribed to our YouTube channel? Yeah, go to YouTube and subscribe for our YouTube channel, please, please, please. It is Realty One Group, Paradise Valley, one long thing, very easy. Okay, please join all of our Monday masterminds. All of our office meetings are there, including about a year of Mandy's. So please jump on there. We took all of the recordings she had and moved them over to our YouTube. So Barb is here. If you'll step this way, she's gonna step into the camera here.
Hi, everybody. Barb Spitzak with Epic Lending. I wanted to let all of you know before you left
Hold on, guys.
that we're having a CE class on October 25th here in this office. If you don't have all your CE hours yet, we're doing a 3-hour CE class for divorce real estate right here in the Rock Title office in Paradise Valley from 9 to 12. So you'll be getting a flyer from me or Melissa to RSVP. Just wanted to put it out there so you can save the date and send me an email if you know you want to go, and I'll make sure that you get on the list. Thank you.
What time?
It'll be 9 to 12.
Probably legal.
It's a C category.
Do you know what cattle? Category.
The cattle,
Category.
the cattle category. I'm just kidding. I don't know exactly what category that is, but I think it's probably part of the other. Because I know there's an other category versus,
It's probably legal though.
That'd be good. I need to.
So just.
so I'll double
let you
check
know.
on the category and it'll be in the flyer. Just wanted to throw that out there since we're already at October 1st. So October 25th here in the Rock Title office, I think our max capacity is 30.
Mhm.
So we will have an RSVP link so that we don't overflow. And then if we do overflow, we'll probably add another date at the beginning of December. So any questions for Epic Lending, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Barb Spitzak, thank you.
Melissa, you need the Zoomers to put their name in the chat for signing purposes.
For this, yeah,
Yeah, reach out, but that would be great. That
yeah,
would be
if
great.
you are in the Zoom,
Well, actually, if you could just put in your agent ID. The
Oh.
short one.
if you'll put your agent ID into the Zoom, or if you know what, if you'll just send it to me, that might be easier. Send it to melissa.schwartz@realtyonegroup.com, please. Folks on Zoom, if you, I can see who was on Zoom. I think we had 3 people on Zoom. So thank you so much, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and shut this off. Thank you all for joining us this morning.